guys, this is Miss Izzy at the Hunter County Library, and today I am bringing you your book talk for this month. Have you noticed how most of the snow has melted already, and how the days where it's a little bit warmer, and the days are getting longer? That got me thinking about how the change in the seasons make us more aware of the passage of time. And from there, I started thinking about how time itself can be one of the main elements, sometimes even one of the main characters in many of the stories and books we read. So, the first thing I will do is read a book to you. It's a beautifully illustrated book by Sarah Jacoby, and it is called Forever or a Day. Forever or a Day, and it's written and illustrated by Sarah Jacoby, and it is published by Chronicle Books. Forever or a Day by Sarah Jacoby. Forever or a Day. If you look closely, you can see it. You can almost touch it. It can be precise, like pouring the first cup of tea or picking the perfect shoe. It's especially clear when you're late. Some people pay a lot of attention to it. Some don't. Sometimes it's far, far away, like when you will be old, gazing out at the sea. It is a drumbeat. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Is this what forever feels like? Sometimes it helps the bus arrive. Sometimes it doesn't. Perhaps it is the twitch of a whisker or a wildly wagging tail, as quick as a heartbeat skip hello. The more you try to hold it, the better it hides. Where does it go? Can we stay longer? Perhaps it is a ghost. It can come and go, and you never even notice it was there. I've shut my eyes, gone to sleep, stared at the sun, run backward really fast, but it keeps going. You cannot hold it. You cannot give it to someone in exchange for a snack. We've only got what we've got. Whether it's a drumbeat, a whisker twitch, lost and found. I love the time I have with you. So the first book that I'm going to discuss with you is titled The Barren Grounds, and it is written by David A. Robertson, And it's about two foster children who discover a portal into another world at the house where they're both foster children. And in that world that they discover, time goes by in a different rate than in the real world. Or is there a real world and the world is not real? Maybe not. Maybe both worlds are real. But the other thing about the world they go into is that it allows them to travel back to their ancestral traditions. And the beginning of the book, it doesn't have very many illustrations, but at the beginning of the book, there is a map of the world that they travel to. And the adventure, once they get into the barren grounds, is quite exciting. And as you can see from the cover, there are interesting characters who are animals. And this book is part of a series, and it's called the Misawa Saga. And the next book after that is called The Great Bear, and there is a third book coming out this summer. Another book that is a classic book in which time is actually one of the main features is called A Wrinkle in Time. And it is by Madeleine L'Engle, and it's part of what is known as the Time Quintet, which means there are 5 books in the series. And the second book is called The Wind in the Door, then A Swiftly Tilting Planet, Many Waters, and the last book in the series is titled Unacceptable Time. This is a classic science fiction book from the 1960s, so it was written quite a while ago, but it's still a favorite book of many young readers. And in this book, the characters travel into outer space. They travel from one galaxy to another galaxy, and they also encounter 2 different time frames. And you can see the beginning of the book shows you a chart that has all the different characters, and it mentions the 2 time frames. So one is known as Chronos, and the other time frame is known as Kairos. And Chronos is ordinary time. It says on here wristwatch or alarm clock time, so the time we are used to. But the other time frame is known as Kairos, and that is considered to be real time, and it's pure numbers with no measurement. So it's just a strange time frame. And that's why it's called A Wrinkle in Time. It has to do with that shift between one time frame to another. It's a very, very exciting adventure, and if you like science fiction, I think you will love this book. And just so you know, there is also a movie that came out recently based on the book, and we have it right here on the new movie shelf. Another book that allows us to travel in time is titled Ranger in Time, and it's a series of books about this dog. And this one is titled Rescue on the Oregon Trail. And it's by Kate Messner, and it's illustrated by Kelly McMorris. It's about a dog, and I will read you just the little introduction in the jacket. He's a golden retriever who has been trained as a search and rescue dog, but he can't officially pass the test because he's always getting distracted by squirrels during exercises. And then when he gets distracted by squirrels, what happens is he finds himself somewhere that takes him away into a different time. So this one is about travel back in time. And in this one, it's titled The Oregon Trail. So obviously, I thought that was an interesting one for us here in Oregon. And it takes this dog back to the time when the first pioneers arrived. It has really cool illustrations, such as this one. Shows you the exciting adventures he goes on. And in another cool feature about these books is that at the end of each book, there's a little author's note. And if you want to read that, it'll tell you a bit more about the time, about what happened in the times that our hero traveled into in this specific episode. And there's even a picture of the author with her dog at the end. So these are real fun. And there are a whole bunch of them all. And so when you read them, not only is it a fun adventure, but you learn about past history. The next book I have is also a fiction book. And this one is written by Catherine Applegate, and it's illustrated by Charles Santoso. It has really cool illustrations. I will show you one of them that shows us all the animals that live in the tree. So the cool thing about this book is the story is told from the perspective of a tree. And what happens with trees is that most trees live much longer than most people do. And so trees, you can imagine, they witness not only the seasons going by, and you know how deciduous trees, such as aspen, or in this case an oak, they lose their leaves, right, at the end of the summer, in the fall, and then they have no leaves at all during the winter, and in the early spring, buds come out and they bloom and new leaves come out, and then in the summer they are resplendent with thick green leaves, and then the cycle starts again. So trees themselves give us a sense of the time passing by. And this tree here observes the people in the neighborhood as they come and go, and new families move in and families move away. So this one is also a very cool book. It has many illustrations. It's a little bit easier to read, but also really well written and a lot of fun. So these 4 books were fiction books, and the next one I'm going to talk to you about is actually a graphic novel. And it's titled A Girl Called Echo. And as you know, a graphic novel has more pictures than text. Instead of having illustrations that go along with the text, the illustrations are really central part of the story. And so here is an example of the cool illustrations in this book. And it is written by Katharina Vermette, and it is illustrated by Scott Henderson, and the color artist is Donovan Yachuk. And so that's an interesting thing about comics. And sometimes in most books you have an author, maybe an illustrator, but drawing comics is more complex, and very often there is an actual illustrator and a colorist, an artist who does just the coloring of the illustrations. And this is a book about a young student, middle school student, and she gets very daydreamy during class. Sometimes she gets bored, and when she does, instead of just daydreaming and spacing out a little bit, she actually travels back in time and learns about past cultures. So that's a really cool story too. And this one is also part of a series, so there are sequels to this one. So we had 4 novels, graphic novel, and now the next book that I'm going to show you is what we call a nonfiction book. And this one teaches you about clocks and calendars throughout times. So human beings noticed very early on, right? The time goes by, and they tried to understand what time is, and they also tried to measure time. And the way we measure time on a daily basis is with a clock, and on a long-term basis is with calendars. And there have been many different calendars throughout the ages, different civilizations looking at it differently. So for example, this is a kind of calendar that was devised or invented by the Maya civilization in the Americas many centuries ago. many millennia ago. And then there is another calendar that looks more like the calendars we have, and that's because it's an early European calendar. And different calendars were developed, based on how people understood time going by, and different aspects of their own culture would be incorporated in their calendars. And this part here has to do more with clocks and watches. This is very cool. So this is in the nonfiction section of the kids section at the library. And sometimes we forget to check that out too, but you can learn a lot of stuff, and the books can be also a lot of fun as well as being interesting. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is an easy way, a sure way for you to travel in time, if ever you want to, is to pick up any issue of the National Geographic magazine. And this one is National Geographic Kids, which we have here. And it comes out every month. This is the March issue. And nearly in every National Geographic issue, there will be a cool story about a past civilization, in this case, about Stonehenge in England. And in other issues, you will have stories about space exploration and about new technologies. So this one allows you to travel back in time, but sometimes you can go into the future with a National Geographic article. And the one with Stonehenge I thought was very cool, because when I was little, my family would travel from the south of France to the northwest of England every other summer. And sometimes on our way, we would stop at Stonehenge. And at the time, there were no fences or anything around it. And we were able to just run through the stones and climb on the stones that are lying down on the ground. And so for me, not only does this allow me to travel back in time to see an old civilization, but it also allows me to travel back in time and remember when I was your age. And this is what's great about literature, right? We can travel in time with the characters as we read the story, but we can also remember things that happened to us in the past, and we can also imagine what we will be able to do in the future. So I hope you will come to the library, and remember, we are open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays, so Mondays through Fridays, and we are looking forward to you coming and looking at any books you want. And if you want to try and come and check out these books, they will be here waiting for you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye. And the craft to go along with these books is more connected to the wish tree. And it'll be, you will be building a 3D setup of a tree that shows the 4 seasons. And I hope you enjoy making it. Bye.